Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know, oh, he owns my future. And life is worth living just because he lives. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I am Bong Yong. If this is your first time clicking on my channel, welcome. I really want to, on this Sunday, just say hello to everyone and check on how everybody is doing. It's been 1 week since we had the lockdown announced in the UK, and so I know these are difficult times, and this week hasn't been particularly easy because earlier on in the week it was announced that Prince Charles had contracted the virus. A couple of days later it was Boris Johnson, and so it's been quite frightening, and it just shows us that COVID-19 is indiscriminate. It doesn't see race, it doesn't see religion, it doesn't see wealth, it doesn't see culture, tradition. There are no boundaries with it. Whether you're rich or poor, beautiful, whatever you think you are, or whoever you think you are open to getting this disease. And so, like everybody else has been saying on social media, the only thing we can really do is look after ourselves and our loved ones, wash our hands as regularly as we can, keep the 2 meters distance that is being recommended, not go out of your house at all if that is possible. So if you're going out the once, perhaps just get as much grocery as you can for your household and for a little work, but if you can stay in, do. And I want to throw in here that recently I just watched a couple of videos and have spoken to a couple of friends who have kind of shared with me how mean some people can be. And I've seen a video in which someone actually spat saliva and was rubbing it on rails and on places where he thought people could easily touch. I even heard yesterday about a case where people actually do that and put it on car door handles so that if someone was entering their car, they would touch it. So once you walk into your house, wash your hands, have wipes regularly to use. And all of this has kind of raised awareness on hygiene as well. And saying that, you will notice that my background is different. That's because I'm not at my place. I am currently with my family, my sister and her family. And so we live at home with my niece and nephew, and my 5-year-old nephew, Michael. I can't imagine how aware he is of how clean his hands need to be when he goes out and rolls on his, what do they call it? Either on a bicycle or on his, I can't remember what they call them, skate, something. As soon as he walks in, Auntie Bonyong, I have to wash my hands before I touch my face or before I put food in my house. He's in my mouth. He's so aware of how clean his hands need to be. And for that, I am thankful. But I also know that at this time, a lot of families are going through challenging times. I'm thinking about the silence and the loneliness. Yesterday, one of our priests here, Father Bensom, during his sermon, he was touching on this loneliness aspect and saying that it kind of reminds us of death. Alone will come into the world, alone we shall depart. And so death is something that sounds scary, because when you start hearing all sorts of people contracting this virus, you know that you could contract it. And of course, some people are surviving, but we also know that a lot of people are dying from it. So when you think about death, a lot of people really get scared. And Father Ben was saying yesterday, let's start having these conversations. Perhaps now in your various homes, you should be having these conversations with your spouses, with your children. Learn to embrace it. We are mortal beings, so there's no way we can escape it. Everyone will go through that route. We just don't know how and when. And so it's about having these conversations. Think about it. How can you go about it? I know sometimes you might think your kids are too young to hear about it, but think and find a way that you can go around to just explaining that there is a life hereafter, for us Christians, anyways, and just give them hope that even if you die, it is not over. It is not over. So I'm going to pause and just check a few pointers that I mentioned that I was going to share with you today. So I've just had my little paper on which I just jotted a few points. The first thing was just to remind us about the Pope's blessings on, was it Friday or Thursday? I think it was Friday at 5 p.m. when the Pope addressed the Catholic community, and we had prayers and reflection before the Blessed Sacrament. And I remember he was asking us to remember key workers, which is really important. We have our doctors, nurses, carers, we have the postmen, beanmen, people who still have to continue going to work in spite of the lockdown that we have at the moment. So we need to hold on to our prayers really strongly and faithfully. And I'll continue to advise, as I said in my previous video, Psalm 95 is a really good psalm to say. It gives you hope. The other thing I wanted to just mention were to check with everyone what their coping mechanisms are, and if you can share some tips. So if you're watching either on Facebook or on YouTube, please, if you have some good ideas that you can share with parents, because a lot of parents are really struggling to work from home. I've seen so many videos where parents don't know what to do. And if you have some really cool ideas, share them. There are, of course, many websites and links and a lot of resources online. So if you search online, you'll be able to find some good stuff. I'll try and see if I can add some links myself so that you can click below and use them. The other thing I wanted to just mention is this is also a time where you should know where your priorities lie, because I know a lot of people kind of run away from their problems when things become tough and difficult. They're not able to face them. And a lot of times it can be during an argument with either a child or a spouse in the house. One person just walks off because the anger is building within them and they just need to go away and cool off. Now you don't really have a pub, for example, to go to and cool off, or you can't just walk into a friend's house and socialize. Like there was always a lot of unnecessary socializing, and people didn't spend enough time with their loved ones and the people they cared for. So perhaps now you have to learn to control your anger, find ways of communicating and facing your problems instead of running away from them. Another thing I was going to say linked to this is about building bridges. Learn to forgive, learn to let go, and say sorry and ask for forgiveness as well. So this is a time of healing and just building those relationships. Working from home. Oh, this week, by the way, something really remarkable happened, and maybe we should continue to do this to encourage one another. Someone came up with the initiative to clap for key workers, nurses and doctors, and it went viral. And on nearly every street in London, in the UK, people came out and just clapped for these workers. So it's uplifting, and you can see the community coming together, which just shows really that all of these differences that we make between ourselves and others is not necessary. At the end of the day, we are all one and we are all equal, so we shouldn't be very discriminatory. I'm going to move on to a message that made my day this week, which is one of the things that has inspired today's video really. A friend sent me a message yesterday. Shout out to you, Titi. And her message was just simple and straightforward. It was just a one-liner that said, "You teachers need triple pay." And then in her second message, she said something like, "Hats off to you," or I get it now, I understand. Like she her messages simply just made it sound like teachers can't ever be paid enough. And usually I don't, as a teacher, speaking as a teacher, I usually don't think our profession can be called profession per se. It's a bit like nurses and doctors. It's more of a vocation where a lot of what you do you cannot be paid for. There is a lot of sacrifice involved. And I'm going to link this now on to what my next point is with the parents who are struggling at home. I think for now, parents can see what teachers really go through, because I'm not only saying this because I'm a teacher. I want to first of all start by saying well done. Well done to you, teachers. Anyone who is a teacher, I want to thank you for being a teacher and for being patient and for being loving and for always doing your best. There are times when teachers just want to teach and help their students, but behaviors in the classroom do not always permit for that to happen. And sometimes the only thing a teacher can do is really set a detention. And I have witnessed on numerous occasions where a parent turns up to school upset and really mad at the teachers and the head teacher. They swear, they talk rudely to staff because their child was held behind for 30 minutes. Sometimes maybe the child did not complete their work. Sometimes it's because this child's behavior was not good enough. Sometimes they're rude. And so now we know that during holidays, parents always take their kids away. And so they don't have this opportunity to really see some of these behaviors displayed. Now, during this lockdown, the kids are now at home with the kids. The first teachers of any students that we have at school should be parents. So now is an opportunity for these parents. I'm not going to say to taste of their medicine, of what teachers go through, but to say an opportunity to start to teach your children how to behave, how to respect adults. And that is something I don't understand. Like, when a child is just rude, sometimes for no good reason, and you're wondering why that is. So please, parents, this is a plea. During this time that you have with the students, with your kids, try and teach them how to behave, to respect adults. The respect that you expect them to show you, let them show that same respect to their teachers. And you respect them as well. Because sometimes maybe they're emulating what they see from the parents. I'm not too sure. But we need to be on it. You are the first teachers, and they should not just be thrown. And if, as I hear a lot of parents who have 2, 3, 4 kids, they're complaining, they don't know how they're going to cope with the kids. In each classroom, in primary schools, teachers have 30 kids that they have with them, 25 to 30 kids that they have all day. Different ability kids and different behaviors. In secondary school, a teacher like myself can have 9 to 11 different groups that we teach. So for your 5 or 4 periods in a day, you see different groups of kids with at least 25 students in each class. In each class, they are of different abilities and different behaviors. And so if you cannot manage behavior in the classroom, you'll be unable to teach. And some of these children make it so impossible sometimes for teachers to just get through their job. So right now, during this lockdown, I'm appealing to you, parents. Take up your responsibility, instruct your children, help them be better children when they come back to us once this lockdown, once everything is uplifted. If you show them how to behave and they start to copy that, life will be easier for yourselves and for us. And sometimes you just think the way nature works and the way things happen, who knows what this is going to play out to look like in a couple of weeks or months time. And I'm going to now give a shout out to a friend and a member of one of my previous parishes, St. Chad's, Frida. She has been amazing at homeschooling. My sister showed me today a picture and a video every single morning since the lockdown. What Frida has been doing, she gets her kids up, they get ready, they put on their school uniform, they have breakfast, and they sit on the dining table and they do school work in their school uniform. She follows the school timetable and she is not taking any nonsense from them. And I was like, wow, she took it to another level. With her permission, perhaps in my next video, I will share a picture or the short video that I saw of what she is doing. And that's why I'm just asking, is there anything that someone is doing which is working well for them that they can share on this platform? Please, if you do, don't hesitate to click here below, either on the YouTube link or on the Facebook link. Now I'm going to close with a verse from the Bible, a verse a friend of mine sent me a couple of days ago from Joshua chapter 1 verse 9. It's just to uplift you and give you hope. So the verse reads, "Remember, I have commanded you to be determined and confident. Don't be afraid or discouraged, for I, the Lord your God, am with you wherever you go." That's the Lord's promise. He says we should remember that he has commanded us to be determined, to be confident, to not be afraid. So even with the virus, take precaution, but do not be afraid or be discouraged. For the Lord our God is with us wherever we go. So we have to hold on to the word of God. But of course, faith without action is dead. So we have to continue having faith, but we also have to take practical steps to make sure that we avoid getting contaminated by this disease. So I'm going to thank you for spending this time with me, and I wish you all the very best in your homes. Keep the faith, have hope, don't despair. And I'll end with a final hymn. Glorious God, beautiful King, excellent God, I bow before your throne. Glorious God, beautiful King, excellent God, I bow before your throne. I bow before your throne, worship at your feet. I bow before your throne, you are the glorious God. Bow before your throne, worship at your feet. Bow before your throne, you are the glorious God. So I'm going to end once more by saying thank you to all key workers. Thank you, doctors, nurses, carers, cleaners, being men, postmen, teachers, and many others. Thank you ever so much. God bless you, and see you in my next video. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and God bless you.